there's no way you would build a wall as big as that of the Great Wall of Benin without a system that would work.
It's a sense of community that kind of produces these ideas.
One thing I admire Edo people for is that they do not demonize their traditional religion.
The best inventions are created when you're trying to do it for somebody else.
So it means that these people came to Benin, saw how we're doing it, and now went back there to
replicate.
It's actually insulting to hear sometimes that, some people say nothing great came out of Africa.
Welcome to the Forgecast. So today we're actually going to talk about Benin Empire, the ancient Benin Empire. People conflate the Benin Republic and Benin City in present-day Nigeria, but that name actually comes from an older empire. And there's something very interesting about the Benin Empire. They had really, really large earthen works of walls. They were moats for protection and for defenses. And so many people have heard about the Great Wall of China. It's a tourist attraction. People go there, hike up, take pictures. But have you heard about the Great Wall of Benin? And archaeologists have said that it's the largest earthen works produced before the mechanical era. So just think about that. And these walls are 4 times longer than the walls of China. You guys, do you know about the Wall of Benin, or is this something brand new?
I won't lie, this is brand new to me. Honestly, it's brand new. I didn't know, and I kind of feel like it's so unfair. I feel like from our own side too, we don't try to put out our country out there. And a wall that is 4 times larger, made by hand, like these
before
things,
the mechanical era.
like they did this thing. There were no machines, no scientists here in Africa. So I can okay, scientists. So it's crazy that we could think of that in that era. So imagine if we never got colonized, where we will be. Like, that's just a very, very crazy thought that I'm having.
And for me, it just makes me wonder, what was the work ethic like? What was the work culture like for you to get people to believe in a vision that they haven't yet seen, and then
that
have them build these things? To build something so great, especially in a time where it's not like work was easier to be done. It just makes you wonder, like, what was the structure to things? How did we have divisions to this thing? Like, oh, you handle this. I didn't think that we had that much unity in us to create such an interesting system.
Yes.
I think for the Benin Empire, it's different. There are different chiefs that would serve the Oba and all of that, and I believe that every chief, they belong to a certain group, and I'm sure that they had maybe some kind of work delegated to these chiefs, like maybe those who would man the workers, maybe those who would supervise the construction of the wall, and maybe those who would supervise the welfare of the workers, because there's no way you would build a wall as big as that of the Great Wall of Benin without a system that would work, without refreshments, without maybe healthcare providers, maybe without all of these people. And it showed that Benin at that time was well organized to the point that they had streetlights. And according to history and according to archaeologists, the Benin Empire and the streetlights in Benin were the first evident streetlights ever in the world.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Powered with palm oil.
That's even the craziest part. Palm oil.
So it means that these people came to Benin, saw how we're doing it, and now went back there to
replicate. I think it just says a lot about the sense of community. Because if you look at it, all these workers are going to be working for long periods of time. Okay, so let's make sure that there are people selling food or supplying food. And I'm sure the economy was booming because of projects like that. Because everybody is getting their hands, in this cake. You that you're a farmer, you're farming more stuff, you that you're the laborer, you're doing more stuff, and then it only makes sense. Okay, so by the time they're done with the day, it's going to be dark on the streets. We want to make sure everybody is safe. How do we produce produce light at home. This is how we do it. So what about if we put the oil inside this and then we light the fire and we hold it with a system that just makes sure it's high up in the sky to make sure that the whole street is lit. It's a sense of community that kind of produces these ideas. The best inventions are created when you're trying to do it for somebody else, to solve someone's
like a cause
problem.
greater than yourself.
You understand? A cause greater than yourself. A cause done for someone that you genuinely care about.
Another thing again, I think the idea behind the wall again gives us an insight into how they valued security, because obviously they must have had maybe like a military system that informed them to say, hey, for us to protect ourselves, let's build a wall as a defense mechanism. And aside that, they also had zoning cultures. They had zoning areas where they zoned certain chiefs and urbans and also citizens in the Great Benin Empire on how they lived and all of that. And every single every single chief had certain roles that they played. Now it gives you an insight into the way they thought at that time and their thinking system. Like you rightfully said, it takes a great sense of organization for you to be able to pull something of that nature off. Back then, when science was pretty primitive, everything was done by hand. And it's actually insulting to hear sometimes that, some people say nothing great came out of Africa.
Honestly,
you destroyed the great things, looted them. Those great things are in your museums right now, and then you're telling us nothing great.
You stole our ideas.
Bring them back now, since they are not so great,
Even the artifact that was looted from the great Benin Empire back then, it tells you how gifted they were to be able to have crafted some of these things. If you see some of the designs, you ask yourself, how were these things done? Now, it gives you an insight into how the Benin people were back then and who they are today. Now, if we fast forward to the Benin of today, you will see that so many of the traditions they had back then still existed.
Yes.
True.
Yes, there might be some level of, the colonizers' influence, but it still remains true till this day that the Benin, the Oba in Benin is greatly revered, that his pronouncement, his decisions are not joked with. So it shows you who they are as a people. I think they believed in that system of governance, the Oba, the chiefs, and so on and so forth, and all of that. It shows that these people were scientifically and technologically advanced for their time at that era.
Talking about their traditions, like how they've retained a lot of them, and it's something I admire about them, that they can take influences from the West and still retain their culture and their religion. Like, one thing I admire Edo people for is that they do not demonize their traditional religion, like whether they're Muslims or Christians, like they still syncretize it, they still do they'll go to the shrine, revere their ancestors, and then if there's some people that are 100% traditionalists, they are not outcast or ostracized or demonized in the society, unlike in a lot of African communities that if these people are 100% a certain religion, then the people that are still practicing African religions, there's a name for them, maybe pagan or whatever.
I'm very curious though. Why is it that these days it is actually demonized? Because, we saw at Rema's concert where he brought out the mask of Queen Idia.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to lie. At first when I saw it, I was like, what's going on? Is this an initiation? But then, after research, you now see that, that was actually the Queen Idia. That was Queen Idia's mask, and you understand the symbolisms and representations he was trying to make and how he was trying to educate the people and let them know what's going on with that. Why is it that that's the first reaction?
I think it's just what it is. When a religion conquers another, of course they'll tell you that this one you're practicing is not good, it will lead you to hell and all of that. You internalize it over the years, and it is just what it is. And then talking about Rema, I think him doing that, because it was in the UK, it was London. It was very symbolic.
Poetic.
Yes, because it was the same culture that came to his own culture, and
took a lot of these artifacts,
expelled their Oba looted. Exactly. So it was symbolic. It was like a reclamation of Edo's glory or something.
And I think another point of view is that we Africans were too quick to drop our own and collect from outside. That's why when we now see things that now belong to us, we are scared. We are like, oh, this is the devil, this is that. So,
but I would also still say I'll not blame us. Like I said, internalize. Imagine you're in school, they tell you don't speak vernacular. What is vernacular? It's your mother tongue that they are calling vernacular, you know? So those things from a young age, they tell you don't do this, don't eat certain food, don't go see the masquerade. So from a young age, when you're in a different religion that is separate from the religion of your ancestors, the point of another culture, another religion is to conquer you mentally. So they will not tell you leave your religion, take ours, but then you can retain elements. No, those small elements you're retaining, even if they're harmless, they'll still be like, no, it's demonic, it's this, you're not a true believer and all of that. So you can't really blame people. It's societal conditioning, I would say.
You know, to break a people, first and foremost, you need to break their belief system. And that was what the colonial masters did. They tried to make you understand that your way of thinking and your belief system was inferior and is demonic, and therefore theirs was superior. And that slowly seeped into so many consciousness. Some people started thinking, okay, the ways of our fathers is demonic, so let's just drop that and follow this system. But that's different for the Benin people, because they are proud of their heritage and proud of their culture. Now, back to the wall. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the science at that time. But looking at the arts and craft, it shows that these people are already gifted. You understand? They are technical. Because for you to be able to design some of the artifacts that are available today, it shows you that these people have been gifted with some knowledge of science. Science in the sense of measurement,
mathematics,
craft.
all of
Exactly,
that,
because you need to
geometry.
have some level of mathematics, some level of calculation to be able to know how to craft some of these things. So I guess the Great Wall just as an extension of their intelligence. And one thing that really surprises me is why the colonial masters destroyed it, because maybe they got offended that, oh, after all, these guys are not savages. So let's destroy some of these things, go back to Europe, copy some of these things. Because my analogy is this. In Europe, there are castles that have moats. In Benin, there are moats in different sections and regions and zones in the Benin Empire. Obviously, you know, Benin man traveled to Europe to see that design and replicated it
I don't
in
think
Africa.
they were even aware.
They were not aware of another world.
Of another world.
You understand? They just existed in their own sphere and they beautifully crafted things that made it work for them. Now, I'm sure the Europeans, when they destroyed the Great Wall of Benin, went back and said, it seems these people are militarily inclined. Let's build moats around our castles as another form of defense from our enemies. That's why if you look at an average picture, sculpture or video or whatever artifact you want to see from Europe, especially when it comes to their royals, you notice that they have moats.
Right. So while I agree that they did copy and were influenced by certain aspects of our culture, for the moats, I think that moats and castles predates contact with the Benin Empire. So I wouldn't really say that, okay, maybe that's something they copied from. So I believe insecurity is a universal problem.
Well, you have a point there. But I'm just thinking, trying to get credit for ourselves, because where did they get our inspiration to build moats? If you look at Benin in general, it's not largely a riverine area. So it was done deliberately to create that extra fortress of defense against their enemies.
And it just makes you wonder if African civilization, African science that was termed as juju was not interrupted.
Dark magic.
Where would we be right now? Like, I'm just imagining Wakanda forever.
Would have vibranium, you know. Maybe by that vibranium is like palm oil. Would have found out all the many possibilities of palm oil.
Run cars or something.
You
like
know,
our motors,
because I mean,
engines.
if palm oil could power street lights,
Only God knows
what you know, maybe it's still something that needs to be explored, and we have so many other sources of power here.
And you know, as he was talking about, you know, how they did this thing without mathematics or geometry, then I was just thinking, we hear about Albert Einstein, we have a Newton, but I know that it must have been that wall started with one brain, and we have no head.
Like how in Egypt, you know that there's Imhotep. He was a great architect. When you think of the pyramids, you think of Imhotep. I wonder who is this architect?
Because definitely it started from one brain.
I'm sure the guy's just rolling in his grave right now. Like,
no, but probably in their records
they have it.
Yes,
Yeah,
probably.
Or maybe it's just that desire for humans to just make their environments better, and therefore, out of curiosity, maybe decided to use the elements in their favor to say, hey, let's put these things together and see how we can make lives better. Because, with evolution, it comes with that desperate need for survival. You need to adapt to your environment. So I guess for humans from different cultures, it's a necessity of, okay, I live in this certain area, I need to do some certain things to survive or to coexist in this environment. So let me apply what's available to me. That's why you see the Eskimos, they'll have their igloos. It was an ingenious plan for them to say, hey, one would naturally think that putting ice together would somehow not make it warmer for you. But they found a way around it. And that was out of that desperate need to make that environment work for them. So I think it spreads across different cultures.
True. Like when people, ridicule mud huts and things, but then now people are going back and saying eco homes, good for the environment, naturally cool, even in the summer. We knew that. Our ancestors,
do you know that there's even something
it took
going?
them thousands of years to catch up.
Like,
You already knew this science long before.
I remember spending.
when people are living in mud or brick homes, there's a reason. They are the things that are abundant in their environment, and also the weather conditions. You're in your stone castles or your stone huts, and your it's your geography.
Now it only makes sense that for them they built stone huts because it's very cold there, so they needed those kind of structures to keep the cold out. While for us, we're in a hotter climate. Huts are known to be naturally cooling. Clay, things built from clay. Do you know that there are now clay dispenser
water pots? Yes, you just put like a tap on it.
I just ordered one. It naturally keeps the water cool, and then it's even better because they say there are a lot of microplastics in a lot of the things we consume with the dispensers and everything. So you now get to use the clay pots that have metal, and then it just allows the water even taste different. And then you're like, see, this is where we were coming from. I remember spending the night in this hotel that's built like with huts. And it was so cool. It was hot outside, but it was cold inside. And I'm like, this is what we left.
You know the
really?
You know the level of intelligence for you to be able to, as primitive, quote unquote, as they described Africans. Do you know how intelligent you'd have to be to know that clay was the best material to use in this region? There's mud, there are other kinds of soils scattered around in Africa, but they somehow figured out that clay was the best option for them, and even clay pots for storing water.
Exactly.
And it's really, really annoying that a group of people who just hopped in their boats and their ship came to the shores of this country and to this continent and just ridiculed everything. Thousands of years later, now they are trying to catch up to the technology of clay. I saw one documentary somewhere where they're like, clay, the substance, yada, 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 is the best form of so on and so forth. We've been there hundreds of years ago. You're just playing catch up right now.
And you see that in places like Thailand, they're going back to these things because you see a lot of their resorts. They're using bamboo, they're using huts. I'm like, this is what people are paying, like $1,000 a night for. This is where we're coming from,
So it has really been exciting talking about the Great Wall of Benin and the culture in general. Like, just imagine the great things that were developed before the mechanical era. It just shows how intelligent, how advanced, how technologically, in their own way, savvy those people were, because they were craftsmen, they were architects, they were engineers. And it just shows that civilization is not limited to a certain group of people. Other cultures around the world had their own system of civilization, and this is one of them. So the Great Benin Empire still stands. You can go there, visit. It's not only the Great Wall of China that is a great tourist attraction. You are a Nigerian, you're an African, and if you're looking for somewhere to go and see the greatness of your ancestors, go and check out Benin.